Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:06, 17th day of June on this Monday morning in the nation's capital. But I've decided, Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
You're so chipper and so bright and shiny today. So full of energy and ready to go. I've decided that we here on O'Connor and Company, and really all of News Talk 105.9 WMAL, and for that matter, everyone in the media, shall now start referring to this Monday, the day after Father's Day, as Father's Day Observed. We're going to extend this, baby, because I had the best Father's Day, and I've just decided, every day should be like this.
It's like my birthday. I get a birthday week.
Sure, I'll go along with that if I can just have this Monday as a Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day observed, everyone. Coming up at 7:05, Joe DeGenova will be our guest. At 7:35, Mark Chenoweth on the bump stock ban that just got overturned by the Supreme Court. At 8:05, we're going to speak with the Sheriff of Harford County, Jeff Goller, about the murder of Rachel Morin, a Maryland woman who was sexually assaulted, raped, murdered by an illegal alien from El Salvador, as he so passionately went after the Biden administration's complete and total betrayal of the American people on border security. We're going to speak with the sheriff firsthand coming up at 8:05. And then at 8:35, Newt Gingrich. A lot to talk to him about with the January 6th committee and what we've learned about Nancy Pelosi. He was Speaker of the House, of course. He knows the Speaker's responsibility for the security of our nation. So, for the security of the Capitol and the security of our nation. It's Larry O'Connor here. That's Julie Gunlock, as we've already established. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning, and happy Father's Day to you, Larry. Did you have a good one?
I did. I had a fantastic Father's Day. Did you properly treat your husband and long-suffering
yes.
man of the house there in the Gunlock?
Yes, we had there was grilling, there was sitting on the back porch. It was very relaxing. How about you?
It was active.
Oh.
As is often my goal. There was a lot of traveling. There was a lot of swimming. There was a lot of cooking. There was a lot of eating. There were cheeseburgers. There were bratwurst. There was corn on the cob on the grill.
And there was a beer I saw on Twitter.
I had a Shiner Bock. I'm actually
nice.
I am in Oklahoma right now visiting my father-in-law and having some time with my children as they're here visiting their grandparents. And so
nice Meredith was with her dad on Father's Day.
And Meredith was able to be with her father. And I got a Shiner Bock because they serve good beer out here.
Excellent.
Decided to put that out there. And people are yelling at me because I'm the Virginia wine ambassador, of course. But you can't take a break and have a good beer on Father's Day?
That's right.
People need to get a life. All right. Let's look at there's a lot. Maryland is in the news right now for all the wrong reasons in many respects. You just heard John Matthews echoing that Westmore is going to be giving a mass pardon to people who had marijuana offenses, calling it unjust. Listen, say what you will about this move, and I understand. It's like, oh, okay, 3 years ago I got arrested for this thing and it was a felony and now it's legal. That doesn't seem fair. You can make that case, I suppose, but I don't know. You know it's against the law when you do it and when you break the law. To me, that still makes you a felon. If the law then changes, then that's different for people. Now the rules have changed. But to call it unjust, to suggest that people who had been arrested for breaking the law that was established for, decades, everyone knew that possessing or smoking or purchasing or selling marijuana was against the law. And if you broke that law and you were arrested and convicted, that was not unjust. It was the application of the law. And nobody, the law was not removed by the Supreme Court because it was unjust. The law was changed through the popular sentiment of the people of whatever given state, in this case Maryland, through their representatives. That's how the process works. Again, if the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, wants to issue this pardon, I think the idea of a mass pardon is outrageous. Mm-hmm. I think that each case should be adjudicated on its own merits. The person who has a low-level marijuana charge might be a really bad person who has probably lived a very awful criminal life, and marijuana is the thing they got him on. Like they got Hunter Biden on the gun charges and the drug charges.
Right, right.
Well,
and prosecutors
so I don't think you should have a mass pardon at all. But the last thing you should do, even if you do have a mass pardon, is to call it unjust. I think that is a warping of the words, and it further divides us. By the way, because and they make it racial. They say, it was disproportionately applied to get black people and black families. You are planting the seed in the mind of black people in Maryland that if they were arrested and convicted on pot charges, it was really racism. And I think that's despair. This is the man who tells us that he wants to leave no one behind. And Westmore is so happy-go-lucky and he's so unifying. And he said it's all bull. He, like Joe Biden, like every Democrat, wishes to divide us.
It also implies that there's nothing wrong with, these people either producing or selling or using this drug. There is that implication there that the prosecutors, the judge, the jury, whatever, was wrong. You're a victim here. I'm pretty tired of that. This sort of more relativism about drug use. It is not. I'm not pro legalization of marijuana. I'm not pro legalization of drugs in general. But this mass pardon, as you said, without looking at each case individually, which, by the way, the prosecutors did. You mentioned, you said, some of these guys are really bad guys. This isn't just a case of, wrong place, wrong time. These can be very, very bad people who get convicted. And the prosecutor did look at the case and chose whether or not to pursue a case. And they did, obviously, in these cases. So just to dismiss them is, again, I think I'm echoing what you're saying here, but it's to dismiss the system in general, the system that is there to determine who are the bad guys in society and who are the good guys.
And plants the seed, again, that the country was racist against black people, or Maryland was racist against black people. And by the way, if the case that Westmore is making is that Maryland for decades was a racist state in its application
who's been
of
in
the
charge?
law, what party was in charge? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, Westmore is there hobnobbing with Joe Biden and doing, we got to keep Joe Biden in the White House. Joe Biden's my man. Joe Biden's the best. Joe Biden's the greatest.
And Kamala.
Yeah, well, all of these states were following the guidelines of the 1994 crime bill that was championed by Joe Biden and signed in by Bill Clinton. So
that's right.
They're just trying to divide. But Maryland is in the news for other reasons as well, including the very hotly contested Senate race between Larry Hogan and Angela also Brooks. And, of course, as we reported last week, Donald Trump gave an endorsement of Larry Hogan, despite Larry Hogan's outright hostility toward Donald Trump and Larry Hogan's strategy to distance himself as in any humanly possible way from Donald Trump, because he thinks that that's the golden ticket. That's how he wins Maryland, is if he can be the Republican who opposes Donald Trump. Well, we're going to give you an update on how that strategy is working out for Larry Hogan coming up in just a moment. But first, it's 5:15 WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the 5s, Jamie Whitten is in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
WMAL, making sense of the roads, because traffic doesn't always follow the pattern. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
All right, we'll get you the full weather forecast in a moment. It is 72 degrees right now in the nation's capital, though. So, as I mentioned, Larry Hogan distancing himself from Trump. Trump endorses Hogan, says, listen, I know Hogan doesn't like me. He's got nothing nice to say about me. That's less important to me as our party and as the country. I think Marylanders should vote for Larry Hogan. Is it possible that what seemed to be a magnanimous, adult, mature, above-the-fray move by Donald Trump there actually was an insidious way to undermine Larry Hogan? Because the Democrat Party in Maryland is now putting up billboards showing quotes of Donald Trump's endorsement of Larry Hogan all around Maryland.
You gotta love it.
Undermine him.
Well,
because Democrats think that endorsement isn't a very good thing for Larry Hogan.
I think the truth is, I think Trump understands that taking the Senate is the most important thing for judicial appointments, to work alongside him if he's president. And I think it was I'm sure behind the scenes he has choice words for Larry Hogan, but I think in endorsing him, he is trying to convey, look, you go down Route 4 to Southern Maryland, it is Trump signs
It sure
all
is.
over. Okay,
Yep.
you go into Western Maryland, it's Trump signs all over. There
Yep.
are serious Trump supporters. There are pockets of Maryland that are deep red. You know, you understand that. So I think that Trump was trying to convey to his supporters, look, I know this isn't our guy, but this is the best chance we have of keeping the Senate, and that's important. But I am very amused watching how the Democrats are taking advantage of this. It really does put Larry Hogan in a tough spot.
Yeah, the billboards right now are planning on located southbound on Interstate 895 East Lombard Street, southbound on 95 Fort McHenry Toll Plaza, so in the Baltimore area.
Yeah.
I'm shocked, actually, if they were smart, and maybe I shouldn't give them any ideas, but it should be up and down I-270, should be Montgomery County. Although Montgomery County is not too keen on billboards, so maybe that's the problem there. But that's where the votes are, and I'm sure that they'll try to peel away as many votes there if they can from people who are hostile to Donald Trump and then take it out. The fact of the matter is, the last poll that we have in this race, which was, to be fair, done before the primary, but it shows also Brooks leading Hogan by 10 points. That's a poll that was conducted the first week of May. Up until that point, Hogan was beating also Brooks in the polls, but again, those were in March and April, a month or two before the primary, and really Angela also Brooks was sort of not really a well-known quantity across the state. She really rose to stature in the final weeks of the primary because David Trone completely imploded, which was incredibly amusing. I do like to revisit that once in a while. So as of the latest poll that we know right before the primary, also Brooks had a handy lead over Larry Hogan. It'll be fascinating to watch how Larry Hogan's strategy plays out here. He was certain that his ticket to victory, especially if his opponent were David Trone, was to be the anti-Trump Republican running as a popular two-term governor. But I think the problem with a lot of Republicans in the state who may have been willing to hold their nose and vote for him is that Hogan has gone out of his way to be hostile and oppose Donald Trump. Not just, personally, he's not my guy, but, I'm going to be a good Republican senator for the people of Maryland. No. He's actually doing everything he can to undermine Donald Trump. And I think even Republicans in Maryland who might be willing to vote for Hogan, even though they want to vote for Trump for president, I think they might resent the fact that Hogan goes overboard. It's like there is a way to nuance this.
There is.
And he hasn't quite figured that out. We'll see. And I think that it is amusing to watch Democrats sort of play up the endorsement and try to make it look like Hogan. What are they going to do? Like do an AI thing where Hogan's wearing a MAGA hat? Dancing around in one of those, like on Corey Ganamort's boat up and down the Potomac with a giant Trump flag. I wouldn't put it past them. We'll see. In my opinion, Larry Hogan has to figure out a way to thread this needle a little bit better and say, though I stand behind no one in my opposition to Donald Trump as a man, I also want to fix this country. And the fact of the matter is Donald Trump's policies are head and shoulders above Biden's. That's all he's got to do. But he can't quite figure that out yet. We'll see if he gets there. It's 5:21.
Now
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
5:36, O'Connor and Company here this Monday morning. Father's Day observed. Happy one to you. 7:05, Joe DeGenova will join us. At 7:35, Mark Chenoweth on this bump stock ruling from the Supreme Court. 8:05, we're going to speak with the sheriff of Harford County, Jeff Galler. You just heard John Matthews refer to his press conference. Absolutely going after this administration's lack of security on the border. It led to the murder of a Marylander, and this sheriff is telling it like it is. You'll hear straight from him. And at 8:35, Newt Gingrich will round things out. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
All right. Well, let's... I don't know. I don't know how to report this story. I'll be honest with you. We have to tell you. It's in the news. We have to tell you about it. But we also have learned our lesson that, we can't spread disinformation. God knows we can't say anything that might get us sued or our company sued or get us fired. Julie, I'll just be a professional. I'll just do a rip and read of the Associated Press. Here we go. Associated Press. Puerto Rico's election commission said Tuesday that it's reviewing its contract with a U.S. electronic voting company with hundreds of discrepancies discovered following the island's heated primaries. The problem stemmed from a software issue that caused machines supplied by... Is it all right? Can I say this?
Yeah,
it's going. Associated Press, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm reading the Associated Press. Whew, this is dangerous territory. Caused by machines supplied by
Here we go.
Dominion Voting Systems to incorrectly calculate vote totals. This is according to the commission's interim president, Jessica Padilla Rivera. While no one is... thank God. Oh, thank God Associated Press got in here quickly on this one. All right, let me just... Everyone listen to this. You just heard me say that Puerto Rico's election commission is reviewing its whole relationship with Dominion Voting Systems and the software used on those machines, and that there was an incorrect calculation of vote totals and a whole lot of discrepancies, and it's really freaking people out. But hold on. Listen to this. This is the most important thing. While no one is contesting the results from the June 2nd primary that correctly identified the winners, okay? We have the right winners.
Oh, good.
Machine-reported vote counts were lower than the paper ones in some cases. And some machines reversed certain totals or reported 0 votes for some candidates. Well, like I said, I don't know what to make of this, because even though we're one of the very few countries on the planet that relies on electronic voting machines to do the tabulations instead of just hand-counting paper ballots, like something like 200 out of 230 countries on the planet, and it seems rather unnecessary to use machine counting. I still haven't quite figured out why we use them. We know, obviously, that we have the safest, most secure, and most accurate elections anywhere at any time in the history of the planet. And it would be impossible for voting machines to inaccurately count the results and identify a winner. And yet, here we have this story out of Puerto Rico. Yeah.
I don't know why we don't just go back to paper ballots. I don't understand. I don't get it. You know, I used to run a program called Progress and Innovation, Center for Progress and Innovation at Independent Women's Forum, where I talked a lot about innovation in the medical field, in agriculture, even in around climate change, technologies that were emerging to help with some of these issues. And I'm very pro the American innovation spirit and innovative spirit to solve some of the problems of the world. That's how I think you get out of these problems. You invent things. Government regulations often kill innovation.
Right. Let innovation and technology
but
solve
not
the
every
world's
innovation is good. Not every, like Beyond Meat. Okay. For one example, I'm kidding. But the point is not everything is progress. Not everything result. You have to have a computer for every single thing. Right. Hand counting, to me, paper ballots, because what's so funny is when there's a discrepancy, they always have a paper ballot backup, right?
Right. And so what's the point?
Yeah.
What is it we're solving here?
Well,
and let's just say this. Our voting system should serve 2 very important purposes. You know what? 3, let's say 3 purposes. But they're in this order. Identify the winner of the election, number 1. And in a very, 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 very close second, it should be to instill a sense of security and fairness in every voter, that even if their person lost, at least they know that there wasn't a rigged system that put their finger on the scales and cheated somebody out of that victory. Right. And then the third thing is that you have the most efficient, secure system possible. All right? It appears to me that this system that we have right now doesn't really give us 2 of the 3 things. I don't know. I don't have the evidence that it doesn't identify the actual winner of the election, but that's the problem.
Yeah.
That we need that extra evidence. It sure doesn't seem more efficient because we're waiting days to get the results.
That's right.
And it doesn't seem like it's secure because, as you see, we've got, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., candidate for president, has taken to social media saying Puerto Rico's primary elections just experienced hundreds of voting irregularities related to electronic voting machines. Luckily, there was a paper trail, so the problem was identified and vote tally was corrected. But what happens in jurisdictions where there is no paper trail, like in 2020? U.S. citizens need to know that every one of their votes were counted and that their elections cannot be hacked. We need to return to paper ballots to avoid electronic interference with elections. My administration will require paper ballots and will guarantee honest and fair elections. There's another candidate who wants the exact same thing, and that is Donald Trump. And one must wonder why Democrats aren't concerned about American citizens feeling like the elections are not secure.
You know why? They love people feeling sort of insecure about things. They love the sort of they love to mix it up. They don't want Americans to feel secure about their elections because that allows them to claim, Donald Trump cheated or the Russians were involved. They love this kind of insecurity on the part of the American voter.
Elon Musk, a man who knows a thing or two about technology, took to Twitter and retweeted Robert Kennedy's tweet and said we should eliminate electronic voting machines. The risk of being hacked by humans or AI, while small, is still too high. And that is the bottom line. Well, let's go back to the days where the only thing we have to worry about is Democrats carrying around a trunk load of paper ballots and using those to stuff the boxes when nobody's looking. Those were simpler times. Yeah. And by the way, easier to track down.
Well, Elon Musk knows a thing or two about technology, AI. Yeah, so.
It's 5:44. It's 5:48, and we've got news out of Fairfax County, the public school system there, where over 27,000 teachers just voted to unionize. Now, you may be thinking, wait a second, I thought there already was a teachers union. No, actually, teachers were not officially represented by a union in Fairfax County, although they did have a work affiliation organization that did not negotiate a collective bargaining agreement for them, but still acted as a quasi-representative for them on various issues involving the school board and policies, everything but a collective bargaining arm, and they were very powerful then. Just look at how powerful they are now. This is going to get very ugly very fast in Fairfax County now that the teachers are unionized or attempting to be unionized, I should say. It will be one of the largest unions on the East Coast now, and you don't think they were powerful enough before. This is going to be insane now.
Let's look at who they joined. They joined Randy Weingarten's union, right. The woman who was in charge of the school shutdowns nationwide, the woman who created such suffering, continued suffering among kids, a lost generation, educational losses. Randy Weingarten is an absolute monster, and the idea that Fairfax teachers would choose to join that union after what that woman did, it just shows you everything you need to know about the Fairfax Public School District. It is absolutely sickening, and it is a betrayal to parents who've been for so long working for improvements.
And in their very first announcement, they've said that they want elementary schools to now be part-time with Mondays half days, which is, of course, impossible for working parents. And if you live in Fairfax County, you have to pay the cost of housing and taxes and cost of living. You, for the most part, are either an elitist with a very big one income in your family, or, of course, you have two working parents. So now what are you going to do? And as I love Sam Jammy, who is the editor-in-chief of Twitchy, a website that I'm affiliated with Town Hall. She's a
fellow at IWF, by the way.
There you go. She's wonderful. She pointed out the obvious here. Let's take a look at the track record of Fairfax County teachers here in terms of their commitment to teaching kids on a daily basis. They fought to keep kids out of the classroom all during the pandemic.
That's right.
They fought to keep kids masked.
Yep.
They fought to keep kids socially distanced and on part-time basis when we were coming out of the pandemic. They fought to make kids have to get vaccinated and double vaxxed. Otherwise, they couldn't come to the school at any given moment.
they pushed to the front of the line ahead of the elderly
to get themselves vaccinated.
And then refused to go back in the classroom.
Right. And now, in their very first official statement after unionizing, they announced that they want to make K through 5, basically part-time.
That's right.
One almost thinks that Fairfax teachers don't really want to teach at all.
And I'm I know we always do this on this show. We always caveat things by saying, "Well, we love teachers. We really love teachers." I'm done. I'm so done with that. I am so done. Where are the teachers speaking out against this? Mm-hmm. Where are the teachers? How many thousands of teachers did you say? 27,000 teachers that are there?
Yeah, it also includes custodians and it includes other school workers.
So where are these people that think this is a bad idea? I mean, this is the effect of Randy Weingarten and these unions. Get in line, right? It's going to cost you if you disagree. But there are teachers out there who must think that this is a bad idea. And if you're one of those teachers, speak up. Parents need teachers to speak up and speak out against this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. By the way, this is brought to you by the Democrats of Virginia, who in 2021 listed a state law that had officially banned the unions in certain public sector arenas, including teachers, because Virginians up until this point had seen how disastrous it can be in other jurisdictions when teachers threaten or even go out on strike and walk off the job.
Yep.
And they didn't want the teachers union to have that kind of power. Well, Democrats under Ralph Northam in Virginia pushed this through and made it now legal for the teachers to unionize, and now you're going to see the fruits of that labor. And get ready, because Loudon will be next. And you're right. I know that there are good teachers out there. It's time to speak up. It's time to walk away. It's time to actually do something to make sure that the rest of the world knows that you're good. Otherwise, we're just going to assume that you're going along with your leadership. Randy Weingarten. It's 5:53.